The story begins on July 15th, 1982, when a groundskeeper discovered the young woman's body in a wooded area along the cemetery. She was already badly decomposed. Forensics soon estimated her age to be between 15 and 18 years old.
The initial thought of the investigators at the time in '82 was, okay, we're going to wrap this thing up in a couple days. As the days went on in this investigation and they weren't able to have someone come forward immediately, say that's my daughter or sister, and basically what they have found out that it wasn't someone local.
While they couldn't confirm her identity, they decided to give her a better name, Princess Doe.
As the time went on, the town started pulling together and said, what can we do to do something for this victim who, at this point, doesn't have a name? And they decided, I think it was roughly about 7 months later after her discovery, that they were going to intern her or bury her in the cemetery and give her a proper burial.
Princess Doe soon became part of the fabric of Blairstown. Her story became folklore and would turn into an obsession for local author Christy Naparano. Christy was born just a few weeks before Princess Doe was found.
I think it was probably somewhere in middle school when some friends and I were having a conversation about weird things that had happened in Blairstown. And somebody had mentioned the story of Princess Doe, and I was intrigued. I couldn't stop thinking about this girl who, 25 years later, still had no name, and it made me so sad to just think about the fact that somebody was wiped off this earth and nobody came forward and claimed her. And I wanted to give her a life.
So Christy began writing a novel to help explain what may have happened to Princess Doe and why no one ever came forward to claim her as a loved one.
I decided to create a family called the Martells. They're a typical American family living in a fictitious town of Carrollton, Long Island. There's the father and the mother, Alan and Sandy.
Anybody else want?
And they have 3 daughters. Sarah Jean, at 18, is the oldest. She is perfect and heading off to college. Amanda is the middle child who has emotional problems. And then there is the youngest daughter, Julianne, who is 15. She is also the fictitious Princess Doe. But the whole dynamic of the family is completely shattered in the blink of an eye.
No! Mom?
I decided that the tragedy would be that the eldest daughter, Sarah Jean, would be abducted while at a college party, and she would later be found dead.
Hello?
This tragedy would rip apart the fabric of the entire family.
You can't blame this on me! I'm not the one that wanted to go to that school! Get out! I can't stand it anymore! Just get out! Fine!
Like many parents of murdered children, Alan and Sandy blame each other for the loss, and eventually they just crumble under the pressure. With Alan out of the picture, it leaves Sandy and her daughters to survive on their own.
Hi, Mom.
Sandy loses herself in a haze of alcoholism. The only way Julianne can survive is to get out of her poisonous environment.
Hey. Don't you have some place to be?
But at 15, Julianne has very few options. One day, she meets an older boy named Stan, and she hopes that he will be her ticket out of Carrollton.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Stan. Back again? You must really like the ice cream here.
Yeah. So, I was wondering, what time do you get off?
Why?
Thought I might walk you home.
In an hour.
Sounds good. See you then.
In an hour.
In an hour. So, do you have a boyfriend?
No.
Well, I'd really like to see you again.
I'd like that too.
As Julianne gets closer to Stan, she also gets closer to his family. Stan's family is very different from her own family. They seem to be happy.
You are an angel, an absolute angel. Where'd you find her?
But a distant relative runs an escort service, which is really a prostitution ring.
Come on. Oh, tell me all about yourself, honey. Tell me about your
All right. What do you want to know?
Everything. How many girls are there? How old are they? How much money do they make?
For a girl like you, I'd say 60 to 75 a night. Now, if you're good and you stick with it, up to 400 a night.
And it's just a matter of time before Julianne, who's desperate to get out of her situation, would end up working for this relative behind Stan's back. So with her mother slowly killing herself with alcohol, her sister Amanda spiraling out of control, and no father around, no one notices that Julianne is hooking to make money.
So where do you want to go?
But when Julianne is nearly beaten to death by a customer, her secret world begins to unravel.
I needed the money.
How long, Julianne?
It's not important.
How long?
A little over a year. I hated lying to you.
I never want to see you again.
And in the end, she would become damaged goods. Not even her pimp could afford to keep her around.
What are we doing here?
Get out.
What do you mean, get out?
Get out!
I don't like it here.
As she writhed down the grass, she opened her eyes wide just in time to see him wind up with the bat once again. She tried to call out, but her throat and mouth were full of blood. Just as she let out another bloody gurgle, he brought the bat down again.
Though Christie's book is a work of fiction, her story, like the real story, ends with a cliffhanger. To this day, the real Princess Doe remains unidentified, and her killer has never been caught. However, when Christie gave a copy of her book to the investigators handling this case, they were very surprised.
As I read through the book, I saw where the storyline was going, and I realized that that storyline was one that I had in my mind. That, you know, there was a traumatic event that occurred in Princess Doe's life. She became estranged from her family. She got with the wrong crowd and ultimately ended up with people that were obviously not good people and ended up murdering her. Once we identify her, I wouldn't be surprised if this storyline might fit into exactly what happened.
And 30 years later, the people of Blairstown, New Jersey still have hope Princess Doe will one day be identified.
Princess Doe was someone's daughter. She was someone's sister, someone's granddaughter. She was someone's neighbor, someone's friend. She was a person who, like every other person on this earth, deserves to rest in peace with a name and an identity.
It's kind of a unique relationship that, with Christie writing the book, and of course, you know, me being the lead investigator in the case. You know, she's got the fiction side, I got the fact side, but it really kind of meshes together.
There's definitely someone out there that has an answer as to who she is. There has to be. There's no way that someone could be on this earth for that many years and nobody saw her. Somebody knew her. Someone knew her.
Now remember, Christie's story is fiction, but there are some very real clues in this case that can help identify Princess Doe. Look at the photos of the clothing she was wearing when her body was discovered. The dress is described as a wraparound peasant dress. She was also wearing this red blouse. And take a good look at this cross Princess Doe had hanging around her neck. Now, over the years, there have been several composites made of what Princess Doe might have looked like, but they were rough at best. Well, recently, Princess Doe's skull was sent to forensic experts at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. A CAT scan was performed on it. Using high-tech digital technology, a team of experts were able to create this new composite of what they believe Princess Doe most likely looked like right before she was murdered in Blairstown in 1982. Now, also, scientists recently measured the isotope levels in Princess Doe's hair and teeth. And comparing them to soil and water samples throughout the U.S., they believe Princess Doe may have grown up in Arizona. Now, these are big breakthroughs in a puzzling and truly heartbreaking case. So, if for a moment you think you may know who Princess Doe is, make that call, 1-800-CRIME-TV, and I promise you, you can remain anonymous. Let's give this woman a name, and let's give her killer a face.